So Billy is freelance. Billy is accounting for freelancers and small service-oriented businesses. So why do most small businesses fail in their first 2 years? Anybody? Just call it out.
Funding. Accounting.
Somebody got it in one. Oh my gosh, yes, it's cash. They run out of cash. Now, why do they run out of cash? Why do we run out of cash when let's say we're a developer and we have a contract with Intel, we're making all this money, and we look at our checking account and there's a ton of money in there. Why do we then run out of cash? Anybody?
Make too many promises.
We made too many promises. Right. Namely, we made a lot of promises to Uncle Sam. And so this is a mistake that I made. My first year as an entrepreneur is well, not the first year, probably the third year when I actually made money. And I made money, and then I had a liability. This is called a tax liability. And there I am swimming in cash. Look at my bank account. Oh, I can't believe this. And then I got my tax bill, and I had to take out 2 0% APR credit cards to cover it. Was I successful that year? No. Did I make a lot of cash? Yes. So what's going on? Why is it that we can have cash coming in, but still not have enough cash to pay for things? Well, that's a fundamental question, because a lot of us got into becoming a freelancer not out of being an MBA or taking an accounting degree or being a CPA, but because we just want to sell our services because that's our gift to the world. Can you guys relate to that?
Oh, yeah.
So what happens when you sell your gift to the world? Thank you for the applause. You sell your gift to the world, but you look at situations where you don't know how to run the business in the most effective way. Can anybody relate to that? Because I certainly could. I had an MBA, and I could not relate to running my own business. They don't train you how to do this. This is something that you learn by mistakes of other people. You don't want to make the mistakes yourself. So when you're talking about cash flow, what are some of the elements of cash flow management? Anybody? Managing debt? How about sending invoices and getting paid on time?
Yeah, accounts receivable.
How many of you have late invoices right now, today, people who have not paid you for services you delivered?
Yep.
Are you a bank?
Amen.
No. Get your money, right? So we want to make sure we have money coming in and money coming out, simple equation, but we also want to make sure we're taking care of our liabilities. So these are the things that we actually care about as freelancers and small business owners when it comes to managing cash, right? So making sure you have money in the bank to pay for your tax bill. That's really important. Generating professional looking invoices so that the customer is motivated to pay you for your service. Yes, it might look really pretty if you create your invoice in InDesign or Photoshop, but then good luck trying to track it. Chasing down late payments, that's really important because you're not a bank. And every day someone has not paid you for services you delivered, you're giving them a loan. And you're charging them 0 interest. Think about that. Managing costs, so tax liabilities. Did you know that your startup costs could be spread out over 7 or more years, right? So you don't want to take all of your losses that first time you made money in your business, right? So managing those costs, knowing what you can deduct and how to deduct those is really important to do. And that's going to be, the key to wealth is tax management. Boy, that's really exciting. So of all the things we talked about, look at this user interface. Look at this user interface. And now you're a freelancer, you're just trying to manage all that cash stuff for the first time in your life, and you look at this. Does that help you? Are there any elements here that relate to what we talked about? Getting paid, managing late payments, keeping track of your expenses, having money in the bank.
Open invoices.
That's about it, isn't it? Just down here, this like really small part of the screen. So if you think about the user experience here, you as business owners and freelancers are not really getting a whole lot of value from this. Maybe your bookkeeper is. I don't know, probably. They probably have to go to 4 years of school to understand this screen. But I want to contrast this screen with Billy's dashboard and draw to your attention some of the cash flow and small business concerns that we talked about. Okay, so with Billy, we're trying to focus on the user's experience, the user journey. We'll talk about user journey in a second. But I want to draw your attention to this. This is how much cash, not that you have in the bank, but your cash to spend. So without the liability. Okay? Drag and drop. You can drag and drop your bills and receipts very easily. Drag and drop. And now you have that captured receipt right there ready to use. One click, create an invoice, right? That's how you make money. That should be as seamless as possible, right? Who's late to pay you? That's really important. You want to know that because on a weekly basis, that's your collections. So I want to talk about one thing in particular. Who's gotten paid by a credit card before, like Stripe or PayPal? So you have these fees, right? They take a little portion of it, 2.9% plus 30 cents or whatever it is, right? Now, in QuickBooks, in some of these other platforms, this two-step process of accounting for a fee takes 4 steps, right? But if you're getting paid every month from a credit card, and you're taking 4 steps to account for that credit card fee inside of your books, you're wasting your time. The idea of these kinds of systems is not for you to spend time in them, it's for you to spend as little amount of time in them as possible so that you can actually go and deliver your gift to the world, serve your customer, right? So what Billy does is it will anticipate that these things don't match. The thing on the left is the bank transaction. The thing on the right is what you invoice. Do you see how they're not quite the same? Well, the reason really that it could possibly be different is that it's a bank fee. So you just click bank fee, and it automatically puts the whatever amount of cents, the 9 cents that it was, into a account called bank fees. You don't even have to look at it. You don't even have to know that, right? But with another system, you almost have to be trained as a CPA to figure out how to deal with that. Late payments. Shouldn't it be easy to charge your late customer for borrowing money from you? Shouldn't it be really easy to do that? That's what we're trying to do. So with Billy, they designed, before I got here, this very easy way of sending a reminder. Oh, and by the way, because I had to send you a reminder, you owe me like 1% of the entire thing. That's a good way to get paid on time, especially if you're creating agreements up front. Like, I expect to get paid on time. And if you value my work, I respect that. And oh, by the way, if you're late, I will charge you 1% every month that you're late to do that. Do you agree? Yes, I do. Okay, let's work together. And then you charge them if they're late. So how do you make that easy? And this is the back-end stack, sorry. But one thing we wanted to do was make sure that the user interface was as fast as possible. We don't want people, so Facebook's key metric is what? Time on site, right? Time on site. We want opposite of that. We want you to spend as little amount of time as possible doing your books because frankly, who wants to do their books? But you have to. And so how can it be really easy and efficient? You get in, you get out, right? So our user interface is actually very, very snappy. It's all front-loaded, JavaScript. Evan can probably tell you more about that. Raise your hand, Evan. There he is. All right, I'm gonna get off that slide. This is a GIF of actually doing a reconciliation at the end of the week. We have 3 transactions. We're creating a new vendor. We paid for it. We categorized it meals and entertainment. Done. Right? We got it. We got an invoice. Got paid by a credit card. Done. An invoice got paid. Partial payment. Sorry, they didn't pay the full thing. Create a transaction. I'm moving money from my cash into my owner's drawer so that I can actually have some money this month. Everybody does that if you have a small business. Done. And now we sold the product. I didn't happen to have an invoice for it, but someone gave me money, and I created an invoice on the fly. So within a matter of seconds, I've just gone through a series of transactions that you would have paid a bookkeeper $250 a month to do for you, right? We're trying to take this very complicated concept that's been around for hundreds of years in double entry accounting and make it tuned for your experience. And let's talk about what that is. Did I do that? Oh, that's my 5 minutes. Okay, move forward. Okay, there it is. Okay. So I wanted to, oh, am I done?
We have questions.
Oh, I can take questions. Oh, okay. I want to talk about one more thing real quick, and that's the user journey. So the user journey, has anyone heard of this? It's a design thinking tool. Everybody should learn about the user journey and design thinking because every time you think about selling value, or delivering value to somebody, it should always be through their point of view, their shoes. And so when you think about going to get a cup of coffee, for example, you wake up in the morning and you're groggy, right? And then you get into your car. You don't just go to Starbucks, you actually take these steps. You get in traffic, you get stuck in traffic, then you have to find parking, and then you have to get out of your car, and you have to get in line, and then you have to figure out what you want, and then you have to fish out for your credit card and so forth. Actually getting a cup of coffee has a lot of steps, and each step has a problem that you could possibly solve. And so when we were thinking about Billy, the problems we were trying to solve were, what are your day-to-day things inside of being a freelancer and not a CPA? And so again, that goes back to simplicity. Reducing the number of clicks to get done the things that you do as a business owner. Pleasure. Yes.
Have you ever thought about gamifying it for the people you're actually billing, to say if they pay it on time over the course of, you know, whatever the contract is, that you'll actually lower that percent of interest, like gamifying it to where those are late payers are actually getting detrimental effects on their account, and then those that might want to pay you on time more so, like, it just might be some cool integration.
That's a cool idea.
Yeah. Make it fun.
Yeah, they get like a rating. They're a customer in good standing. Yeah, in the back.
Does the platform integrate with any other service providers?
We are Stripe integrated. We're Plaid integrated for bank interactions, and we're working on a couple of new integrations coming up in the next couple of months, including Zapier and PayPal. Yeah.
Both Xero and QuickBooks Online don't advocate that small account, business users actually run it. They actually use an advisor
Right.
to kind of deal with the complexity of accounting.
Yeah.
So what does Billy do that Xero doesn't do, or QuickBooks Online?
Well, Xero and Intuit make money in H&R Block, make money by making things complicated. Literally, they have millions of dollars in lobby. And every time, we don't have to calculate our tax liability. The government already knows. Do you guys know that? They already know. Why do you have to calculate that? Every time there's been a bill to simplify tax reporting, these large financial companies have lobbied to keep it complicated. So it's in their best interest to alienate us, the small business, from the reality of the numbers, because they sell training. These are not software companies, these are training companies that happen to have software. They're selling training to bookkeepers and accountants. Well, so what Billy's trying to do is disrupt that entire ecosystem. Why should we be so alienated? Why do so many businesses fail? Because of cash management. I feel that's morally wrong. I think if we want to start a business, we should understand our numbers without having to go through gatekeepers to help us understand our income statements. Don't you guys agree? So what do we do? Thank you. So how are we different? It doesn't need to be that complicated. It doesn't need to look like QuickBooks or Xero. It can be simple. And it can be simple using design thinking
Tax
principles.
law is complicated. It's very complex.
We're not.
I'm a CPA.
Yeah, tax law is.
I'm also Xero certified.
Yeah, tax law is. We're a bookkeeping company, right? So we provide bookkeeping services. We don't do tax reporting. Yeah.
So once you understand that businesses fail because of cash flow management, so are you also working on helping businesses understand how to improve their cash flow or improve their position?
At some point, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so we've been focusing, a lot of our content has been on education. If you look at our blog, it's how to increase your prices over time, sales techniques. So we're trying to be a whole ecosystem for that small business so that they can really start to thrive. Our mission really is to help anyone who wants to be an entrepreneur succeed. Yeah. Can I take one more? Yeah.
So as an entrepreneur that started a few businesses myself, I wish Billy would have been around when I did the last business. But one thing I didn't hear you say is that I had to learn the hard way is that one of the most important things for me was learning how to have a direct conversation with somebody about the fact that I need to be paid, and I need to be paid, and here's why, and all that. And what I found is that when I did that with certain clients, I could call them partners now, all of a sudden I got paid much more regularly from them just by having one conversation. Not everybody, but most of them. I was wondering, does your app have a way of managing those conversations? I didn't see that when you ran through what you...
So you can send, the question was around managing the agreement with your customers up front so that you do get paid on time. So what I would say is that that's really on your communication style. So you can customize the emails that you send. You can put your payment terms should be on everything you send out. Quotes should always have an expiration date. Invoices should always have payment terms. If you can get paid up front, get paid up front. So the way you negotiate yourself getting paid is really important. Something like 60% of freelancers in this country are owed money. It's endemic. It's a real problem. And so you need to get in front of that. And so having a way to track who owes you money is the key. And having agreements up front is how you're going to get that respect. So I want to say one more thing. So the secret word is tupten. And if you guys want to try billing for a year without any charge, email me here and give me the secret word, which is tupten, and I will connect you with a subscription to Billy for a year to try it out.